So let's get one thing straight. Just so I can get one thing clear, New Japan Pro Wrestling sucks. I've seen plenty of wrestling promotions over the last, let's say, 13 years, and I have watched either them die early, stay too long but no growth, or just have no, star power to even proceed it to what it should get. And the only potential that I saw from most promotions was either TNA, sometimes Lucha Underground, and sometimes NWA Power. Outside of pro wrestling, all this work rate, stiff arm, we got everything in pro wrestling, like work rate garbage, always never, always fails to grow over the company because you're just subjugating over to that genre of one part of fans. Only a niche group want to see just a variety of one thing and not try to do stuff creatively outside of it to make it feel like it is something more fans are going to get accustomed to. It's like a card game. It's like a video game. It's the same thing with pro wrestling. And New Japan just does stay over to the nation. And everybody's going to be like, oh, the only reason it doesn't grow is because, of course, it's because of the language barrier. The language barrier holds it back. We know that it's good. Shut up, you fucking, like, what culture viewers? Like, stop. Outside of anybody else that hasn't took part in the internet, or at least that part of the wrestling community, uh, nobody ever heard in their life New Japan Pro Wrestling until an American star goes there to give it any semblance of mainstream appeal. And when they come back, it's just a check from their bucket list out of, okay, I wrestled from Japan. Hogan did it. Like, wasn't he your first IWGP World Heavyweight Champion? Vader made it popular to do that work rate shit in Japan. Uh, Andre the Giant, AJ Styles. Nobody in the world ever tells me about a top Japanese star unless they force Jushin Thunder Liger up their ass. And whenever these New Japan jobbers do come to the WWE or any other company, what does that bring? What does that bring? Their wrestling sucks. It's just fake hard hitting jobber slap fests until somebody breaks their goddamn neck or dies in the ring. It's Jay White. It's the Hiroshi Goto, Tanahashi, Okada. They tell me all these Naruto villains, and none of them ever scratched that much of a draw outside of the out of Japan. And Mark you, if you're a New Japan fan and you're Japan, go ahead, do what you want. I'm not targeting you. I'm targeting the work rate American smirk fans fantasizing over dream matches with WWE wrestlers. You are hurting yourself, and you are lying to yourself if you really think any of these New Japan jobbers are going to quintessate you know accumulate an essential audience of over 500, or at least over 100,000 people. Even the peak of pro wrestling, that was 2016, when they were on Access, they only got 100K. Access is not a hard to find channel. At least it's a shareable channel in certain cable providers. So you can't lie to me and say, "Oh, not a lot of people have there's like the New Japan World that's in Google Translate, and you need all that garbage just to watch New Japan." And most of it is work great house show fodder. Like, its production is so lackluster until you hit over to the pay per view, and the pay per views don't even have gimmicks. These guys barely even have stipulation matches. It's just work rate tag team, 6-man or 8-man tag. It's some universe mode supercard work rate garbage. Like if New Japan had 2K, that would be the type of game they would make. They would make it open with chain wrestling, and the rest is no selling fodder fest before they have to hard hit each other to fall down. That's New Japan. Another reason why they suck. The only mainstream appeal they had over their decades of existence. Not Antonio Inoki. It's the effing Bullet Club. That's the only reason I even heard of New Japan Pro Wrestling. I've been watching wrestling for near a decade over that point. Over a decade at that point when I heard about the Bullet Club And it's like, wait, they're in a Japanese Fed? Why? If they're so popular. And it's like, it's the only way these weeaboos can get over, pretending that they're being the NWO and work rating around selling merch with no charisma or cool factor. And they're coming around beating up all these Japanese jobbers, winning all their titles. And the best they can do is not be in a cool shop to sell, where like you go to a Marshalls or J.C. Penney, you see a few like clothing stores, some at least notable ones in the mall sell like some regular WWE kids T-shirts, and it's like, okay. You go to a Hot Topic, you see a Bullet Club T-shirt. That's the most you're ever gonna get out of New Japan. Without Bullet Club, sadly, Bullet Club, that'll be the only quintessential reason why, the only reason why New Japan even has a conversation piece. Like, nobody talks about their goddamn G1 jack off climaxes, the round robin work rate 2 month tournament that's just everybody just breaking their neck and hard hitting until the stupid tournament to win a briefcase that barely anybody loses, and it's just not going to succeed. WWE is better off wasting its business motifs, going to Disney, selling off over to their hearts to the Disney, like they already messed up with Star Wars, and now they want to mess up the. I already can't accept the amount of failure WWE has accumulated, mainstream wise, over the last six years, since their ratings have accumulated to now a 1.4. If you said that back in 2014, I would not believe you ever. And now that's happened. That's the type of level that we're having today. But for New Japan, that would be a godsend because nobody outside of out of Japan even hears about them. I swear, like their wrestling sucks. Their fan their fan base is always like, oh, the dick suck whenever an American guy comes there and fake like their matches, and the only relevance that they get is because of Dave Meltzer. This a cumulative star rating that has cancerized anybody's opinion about how you think a wrestling match is good or bad is revolved around a star rating over how much these guys uh, stimulate each other up, breaking each other's necks, and then selling it and calling it psychology. Like it's so minimal. Ugh, just that's how bad it is. But there's of course plenty other reasons. Their video games suck. Kenny Omega kind of made wrestling a bit more phonier. Their work rate is garbage. Their inconsistent crossovers with many other promotions is not spreading over the world of New Japan. And just an impossibility to grow outside of Japan. They can possibly grow over to England promotions, but if they're trying to get over the West in the United States, where all they're gonna see is just anime shit with fake hard hitting work rate garbage, and understand that all that is fake, and they're doing this with no storylines, and most of these guys cannot speak English. Other whenever an American guy comes, they know they're screwed. They are screwed, and I don't like saying that because I don't like putting a lot of feds down. And New Japan hasn't got me as pissed off as AEW does, but just seeing this, it just proves overly my point how much pro wrestling has declined to even grow to a sentiment that a country would actually be a bit more popular. A fan from a different country would be a bit more popular than the WWE. And just hearing all this overhyped garbage for the last 6 years, and it accumulated to, uh, oh, you sold out Madison Square Garden. Garbage. You gotta be kidding me. Knicks would have 5 wins next season, and people would still sell it out. That's it coming from me, man. Like, tell me, like, why? Like, don't I don't want a fake answer. Why in the hell? Like other than like what culture or anything from Wrestling Observer, outside like barely anybody can tell me when they first started watching New Japan. Nobody can tell you a memorable match that was not rated out the top 10 of some weirdo's list, because all these New Japan matches are garbage. Other than like when WCW and like TNA and Ring of Honor did all that stuff, and it's just accumulated over star ratings because none of their spots ever memorable. Ugh. But just comment down below how you guys feel. You feel like I'm going too harsh on New Japan. I don't really give a shit, but I never saw the big deal. I've been hearing all these YouTube channels like praise all the work rate garbage these fake weeaboo Japanese jobbers do over to the match, and they just give me no emotional investment. And yeah, you can blame it over to the language, the language barrier, And yes, that does take part because whenever you're a foreigner speaking over a different language, you're trying to target a, an audience in a different country. That's probably gonna not like pass for a lot of viewers unless you're BTS, where like a lot of fanboys and fangirls like touch scissoring each other over some 20 something Korean femboys. I still don't know why people like K-pop. I don't know how it got this mainstream that they have McDonald nuggets, but that's beside my point. That's it coming from here. Thanks for watching. That's it for me.